Mantak Chia's system is fantastic. It's a very self-empowering system. It can really improve your health, your energy, your sense of purpose in life, your confidence, your groundedness, your ability to manage your energy basically. But it's not without its setbacks. Hey guys, I'm Jonathan White. I'm here to help you master your sexual energy so you can manifest your ideal life. If you want to learn more about sexual mastery, make sure you subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon to stay notified when I release new videos and go live. Make sure you get my free ejaculation control course through the link in the video description below. So in this video, I want to share my experience in training in Mantak Chia's system, especially the sexual practice is going to be the main focus of this video. So first of all, I want to say I've never actually studied with Mantak Chia directly, but I have studied with several of his senior Healing Tao instructors. So my experience with the Healing Tao system began in 2014 through Mantak Chia's books and several of his videos. So originally I began working from the books, Multi-Orgasmic Man, Tao's Secrets of Love as far as sexual practices, but then I found some of his online videos, was working with those as well. And then a couple years later, I started studying with Healing Tao instructors directly to learn the methods. So overall, Mantak Chia's system is fantastic. It's a very self-empowering system. It can really improve your health, your energy, your sense of purpose in life, your confidence, your groundedness, your ability to manage your energy basically. His system is fantastic, but it's not without its setbacks. And honestly, I've studied in many internal energy arts systems, and I've never found one system that was perfect all within itself, right? It seems like all these different systems I studied within were kind of had one piece of the puzzle for me to unlock a bigger picture. And I think it'll be that way for most people as well, right? So one thing I will say that sets apart Mantak Chia's system of sexual practices versus what I'm practicing now is the use of tension, specifically pelvic floor tension, muscular tension, doing Kegel type engagement, squeezing the pelvic floor muscles and tightening them. His system is all about doing Kegel after Kegel after Kegel every single day to really strengthen the pelvic floor. And so I personally spent about 8 years doing Kegels every single day, very strongly. I had a very strong pelvic floor, but I found that my ejaculation control with those practices was a bit inconsistent. Some days it worked really well. Other days I felt extremely sensitive. I started noticing that during sex, when I was squeezing my pelvic floor, which he instructs to do during sex, my penis felt more sensitive. I felt like I had to ejaculate more quickly when I squeezed my pelvic floor. It did allow me to draw the energy up, but often when I did that, I would lose my erection. So my erection would frequently go from being very hard to very soft during sex. And after a few years of doing this, I actually started having some, not exactly erection issues, but overall inconsistent erections. It would often go floppy during sex, which no man really wants, right? And as I became a certified Healing Tao instructor, I began teaching this work myself, right? And what I noticed was that people I was teaching these tension-based methods to would say, hey, this makes me ejaculate quicker when I do this. Several of the students would say this, right? And at this point, it became very clear to me, like, wow, there's something going on here. Like, this is supposed to be an ejaculation control method. It's supposed to be, a sexual mastery method, but squeezing the pelvic floor is making all these men ejaculate quicker. And for me, often during sex, it is making me approach the point of no return more quickly. So I started to really look at this pattern, and I started to do a lot of research into other practices, other sexual practices. And there wasn't a ton of information I could find as far as, how to do it without squeezing the pelvic floor. And I did find a little bit of scattered information about this, and I started developing some practices myself. I started to really focus on releasing tension from the pelvic floor. I did this by just general relaxation exercises, abdominal breathing, squats, and specifically reverse Kegels, which are a pushing out of the pelvic floor. And I started noticing when I was having sex, when my penis was being stimulated, when I pushed out my pelvic floor or relaxed it completely, I had much more sexual stamina. And interestingly, my erections were much more consistent. I had higher quality erection, harder, firmer, more inflated for a longer period of time without the up and down effect that squeezing my pelvic floor constantly was having. And this was very interesting to me. And after almost a year of developing these relaxed pelvic floor techniques, using them myself, kind of mastering them, I started teaching them to other people, and they were having much better results from this pelvic floor relaxation and reverse Kegling based methods. So the opposite of squeezing and contracting is to release and to even stretch and expand, right? And eventually it became very clear to me the reason why this is this link between the sympathetic, the parasympathetic nervous system, muscular tension patterns, also stress patterns in the mind and body. And I started to notice a very strong link between when I was personally in a stress and kind of tensiony state of mind, that my pelvic floor would be very tight and tense. It didn't help that I spent 8 years doing Kegels intensely without stretching out my pelvic floor, without relieving the pressure of all that tightness. I mean, imagine if you went to the gym and did bicep curls every single day. You didn't do tricep curls scales to balance out your arms and you didn't stretch out your arms. Your biceps, yeah, they'll be really strong, but they're also going to be really tight and difficult to release, to relax, right? That's what men are doing with their pelvic floors when they're doing nothing but this squeezing, tension-based patterns. And so there's a link, again, between the sympathetic nervous system activation, which is what ejaculation is a function of, and this constant squeezing of the pelvic floor. Living a stressful lifestyle only makes the problem worse as well, right? And so as I started to release this tension, layers and layers and layers of tension from my pelvic floor, I noticed that it affected my whole mind and body. When I was in a stressed, filled, or tension state, my pelvic floor was very tight and I had a difficult time lasting very long during sex. But by relaxing my pelvic floor, releasing these stress patterns from my mind and body, I was able to have pretty much unlimited sexual endurance and multi-orgasmic potential as well. What I further realized is that so many men actually have severely distorted and hypertense pelvic floors from doing way too many Kegels like I was, and also by having this pattern of squeezing the pelvic floor during masturbation and sex. This is what I used to do in my teens and early 20s when I was masturbating to porn. I would just constantly squeeze my pelvic floor because it created more sensitivity. It brought me to the point of no return quickly, but it trained this hypertension pattern in my body, and it was very difficult to overcome that. And this excessive tension in the pelvic floor can cause erection problems as well. I'm not 100% sure why this is, but I've noticed a definite correlation between involuntary or even voluntary squeezing of the pelvic floor constantly during sex and very up and down states of erection. Again, it's hard, then it's soft, it's hard, then it's soft. When I started to really relax my pelvic floor, release the pelvic floor tension, I had much better erections. And I had a much better erection during sex. I noticed during sex, there was some times where I would feel really tense. And so I would start squeezing my pelvic floor to try to control it. And my penis basically went half-mast. It wasn't fully soft, but it definitely wasn't fully hard. I think this is what a lot of people refer to as hard flaccets. I had this issue whenever I started engaging my pelvic floor and having this hypertension response during sex. Very interesting. So my main point in making this video is that, first of all, Mantak Chia's system is great overall, but I do not recommend this squeezing of the pelvic floor, especially in a generation of men who already have too much tension in their bodies. They sit down all day. Creating more tension in the pelvic floor can often make premature ejaculation for them worse. So if you are practicing Mantak Chia's techniques, I recommend that you replace the squeezing with relaxing. The same mechanics of moving energy, there's some other body parts you can engage other than squeezing the pelvic floor, such as squeezing the butt muscles, pulling in the abs. If you want to learn more about this, take my free ejaculation control course and you'll learn some basic techniques that I've used to replace the pelvic floor squeezing, which have been immensely helpful for me. I think maybe part of this reason for this excessive tension that he often introduces in a lot of his practices are kind of this masculine pattern of wanting to feel in control. It's like, during sex, I want to be able to control it. So I need to tighten, I need to squeeze, I need to use strength, right? But unfortunately, that just doesn't work very well. It doesn't work for me anyway. I mean, it must work for Mantak Chia because he's been doing it for decades, right? But I had personally the biggest breakthroughs in my ejaculation control and in my multi-orgasmic ability when I stopped contracting my pelvic floor during sex, learned to relax completely, and even use reverse Kegels during sex as well. I mean, unprecedented levels of sexual control, even during really intense, vigorous sex. Obviously, there's a lot of other aspects to it, but overall, I think that all men will benefit to release these hypertension patterns, replace squeezing with relaxing during your sexual practice. And again, if you want to learn more, take my free ejaculation control course. And I've understood the most important things to sexual endurance and multi-orgasmic ability for men is relaxation, not tension, relaxing the body, relaxing the mind, keeping the breath slow and deep, not forcing things, not tensing up intensely, because tension kills the flow of energy. I mean, that's a basic principle of Chinese medicine and Chinese energetics. So it doesn't make sense why you would need all this tension to move energy during sex. I also noticed that I had much less instances of experiencing blue balls when I started relaxing during sex. That was still an issue for me sometimes using the tension-based methods. I pretty much never experienced blue balls, even having non-ejaculatory sex almost every day, right? For long periods of time sometimes. No blue balls when I keep my pelvic floor relaxed. And so when you release the tension from the pelvic floor, the energy can move actually much easier through your whole body. You don't need to force it as much with the mind. You can just allow the energy to move. Encourage it to rise with the mind, but not force it, right? And it creates a much more organic, fun, enjoyable, sustainable, full body state of pleasure. And instead of this feeling of, I need to control, force, squeeze, it just isn't that enjoyable for you or your partner, right? Thank you for watching this video. And I want to give my respects to Mantak Chia. He truly is a master. He's been a majorly influential force in bringing Taoist practices to the West. And I'm eternally grateful to him for doing that. I love him. I love his work. But It's this pelvic floor squeezing thing that actually caused me a lot of harm and has caused others as harm. And I recommend, if you are practicing it, trying the relaxation exercises. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on this topic or what you've experienced with it. So leave a comment below. Have a great day, my friends.